Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of E3 Aftermath, where the GameSpot editorial team talks about the hot topics that came out of E3 2011. I am joined by editor-in-chief of GameSpot.com, Ricardo Torres.
Hello, don't call them hot topics, we're not The View.
Hot topics.
Ooh.
And news wizard Tom Magrino.
Hi, man.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're totally not a couple of women established sitting around.
It's hot topics facing today's women.
Yeah.
Actually, what we're going to talk about today is not this past E3, but the E3 of the future, E3 2012.
Do they have a crystal ball?
I have one somewhere. And
please do not whip it out.
Yeah, no. So, based upon what happened this year, we saw the announcement of a new Nintendo console. We had Sony taking out the PlayStation Vita, and we had Microsoft really putting a lot of emphasis on Kinect.
Right.
So, Ricardo, first, what are we going to see next year?
I think Microsoft's already been very public about talking about a new console next year, which they kind of need to do. I think they didn't have the best show this year overall, simply because they were a little more fixated on Kinect, I think, than their audience wanted them to be. So that'll set things right. They're going to talk about the new Halo.
Right.
They're going to talk about...
Wait, the new Halo 4 or the Halo after that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, they always tend to... They tend to just... They roll them deep.
Right.
So
I feel like this Halo will be, 2011, and then they'll give us another Halo in 2012. And I feel like that's just going to be, we're going to have a normal closer for every Microsoft E3 press conference.
Pretty much.
Halo.
I mean, so you don't do either of you think that, because it seems like Sony's in it for the long haul with the PlayStation 3. They're looking for, seems like another 5 years out of that thing, if that.
I'm not completely convinced that either Microsoft or Sony will show new hardware. I mean, Sony, it still clearly has a lot of life left in it, and Microsoft is just, cleaning up as far as, North American sales especially. So they haven't dropped the price at all, and it's still at $200-$300 level. It really just doesn't make sense for me for them to want to advance the console generation before they have to.
I mean, is there demand from third parties that these new systems come out? I mean, it seems that with development budgets exploding that they wouldn't necessarily want that, but
it seems like the third parties are nervous because and you, Cap News Wizard, you tell me if I'm wrong. I think this has to be like the roughest transition we've ever seen in between generations from last generation to this one, because it was so staggered out and developers were kind of beside themselves because they didn't know what to code for when and what have you. So I don't think they're in a hurry, but I also think that Microsoft does want something sexy to talk about, and at this point they don't have anything that is going to be new and exciting. So they will have to talk about hardware. They've already said they are. To what degree is a bigger question. I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to go the tech demo route, where they dazzle you with all this stuff, and then they start talking brass tacks the year after.
Right. It seemed like the reason why this transition was really hard was just making that leap from standard def to high def. That was the key thing for these consoles. And I think actually the next generation won't be as difficult, because it seems like the high def part was the really hard part for a lot of developers to get their heads around. And, especially with, the Wii coming out, now it's high def. I don't know. It's just, to me, it seems like, third parties are not going to want to go back to where they're trying to figure stuff out. They got we got a project for the 360, which we know has a huge install base, but we got to think of the future. It's I think they'd rather just stick it out with what's there, especially if it's it's kind of one of these cases of if it's not broke, don't. It's a stupid cliche, but I don't know. I think it's not broke right now, so it seems
and we're already
premature for them to fix it.
Well, we're seeing this generation kind of have this weird moment where people are trying to really dial in just how powerful the Wii U is. Is it sort of this generation? Is it maybe a step above? How badly is it going to throw off sort of people's plans for multi-platform?
Well, that's my question. So for next year's E3, is it going to be the Wii U's coming out party in terms of we're going to see everything that's coming out for the 360 and PS3 is going to be on the Wii U? We'll see all that stuff on the show floor next year. Will the system be out?
Well,
by next E3.
So they said what the Bay
fiscal
window was April 1st
Right.
to December 31st.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time too, and our Spidey sense sure does tell us they love their fall releases.
It seems unlikely. It seems unlikely. But what do you think about? I mean, what's Sony gonna do? What do they have at next E3, Tom?
God, I don't know. I think we'll get some more God of War. It's been a while. I mean, it seems like they're going to hit their big franchises. I'd like to see, new hardware, but I don't know. I think it'll be very software driven. I think we'll hear a lot more about, how awesome the Vita is, and I think we'll get a lot of third-party Vita titles shown off, as well as first-party.
And they'll probably be leaning into the connectivity between the two platforms that's been hinted at. And I think the bigger thing, going back to Nintendo for a second, next E3 has to be, because, we know that thing's not going to be out before E3.
Right. It would be surprising if it came out during E3.
No one wants that.
No.
I remember this.
I think, Sega already showed that doesn't work.
I think the bigger issue is Nintendo, I think, to some degree acknowledges they kind of blew the Wii U's cotillion, because the fact that after that press conference, there were basic questions like, is it a new accessory for the Wii and whatnot, that they understand they need to have like a really good sort of like coming out party for it officially, and you can't do that without first party software. So I would expect that next E3, it's the Mario game that you expect. They'll tease a Zelda, they'll maybe show something on that Smash Brothers that they very blatantly teased and whatnot. So for them, it's going to be about the proper coming out party for the Wii U. There will be third-party stuff, but I believe the stronger thing will be the first-party stuff that will make that tablet controller totally make sense to anybody that's kind of confused.
So we potentially have new hardware from Microsoft. We have Sony trying to convince everybody the PlayStation 3 and the Vita is where it's at. And we have the coming out party for the Wii U. As always, you can check out all of our E3 coverage by visiting GameSpot.com.